All right, let's make a formal introduction for our listeners. Good afternoon, Daniel. My name is Claudio, and I'm calling you from Washington, D.C., from the Student Fairfax City. We are very grateful that Daniel Biro accepted our invitation to our show. Daniel, welcome to the show.
Hi, Claudio. Thanks very much for having me again.
Again, sure.
I just, it was good last time, so hopefully this time will be fun as well.
Thank you. Thank you. For some of us that don't know you, feel free to elaborate on the beginning of your life. Were you born like in a musical family? I mean, how were you when you perhaps began taking, guitar lesson or piano lesson way before the keyboards that I see behind you?
No, my mother played piano and accordion, and she was quite good. My dad never played, but he was a big music lover, a classical music lover. He loved opera, and so there was always a lot of music playing in the house. But no, I wasn't. They didn't push me to become to learn an instrument. I just decided when I was about 9 years old that I wanted to play the piano. And so that's how it went. I mean, they got me a piano, and I started learning, but classical music wasn't really my strong point. So where I was growing up in the south of France, my mother found out that there was a great jazz school in Monaco, and so I was about 12 when she took me there, and it was run by this sort of eccentric Belgian sax player called Roger Grosjean, and he was a real character. But he took me under his wing, and he started teaching me chords and stuff, and then he put me straight away in the school big band. It was like a working big band, the school, and so we played a lot of gigs around the area in Monaco, and so that's how I learned. It was really hands-on, very much hands-on learning jazz, improvisation. But at the same time, I was listening to all kinds of stuff, Pink Floyd and like Oldfield, but Tangerine Dream, a lot of electronic music at the time. We're talking mid-70s here. Yep. So all those two areas really kind of mixed into my mind, sort of jazz and jazz fusion, jazz rock era, Return to Forever, Weather Report, Mahavishnu, Herbie Hancock, all those people mixing in with Tangerine Dream, Vangelis, Pink Floyd, Klaus Schulze. So those two kind of strands were always at that age were mixing into my head, and started putting bands together with some friends. We played around a bit, and I started straight away writing our own stuff to play, because I was immediately interested in writing rather than playing other people's music. So then in 1985 I came to London with a particular band, friends. We were doing sort of quite electro pop music also, but it didn't work out. We didn't become a huge success overnight at all. And so my friends went back to France, but I stayed in London. And from then on, I just started doing all kinds of things with different people, touring also as a keyboard player with rock bands in America and Europe. And I was with this band called The Truth for a while, which is Dennis Greaves, who had this band called 9 Below Zero, but he also had this other band called The Truth, and as a keyboard player we toured the States quite a lot. But I always wanted to get back to doing my own music with people I wanted to work with, and so then I started my own record label called Sargasso, which has now been going for 30 years. Not just for my music, but also experimental contemporary music, other composers. We have a reasonable catalog. so yeah, it's been a adventurous journey.
How did you end up meeting Colin?
Well, that's a story. When I was 14 years old, again, my mom was always very good at seeing things that I might be interested in doing. She found this summer camp in the French Alps, which was like for, I don't know, 2 weeks or 3 weeks. It was, so she enrolled me, and I just, I don't know how I got there, by train or something. And yeah, it was this in this kind of resort hotel thing, and they had this music summer camp, and there were all kinds of people there. Again, very eccentric people, a lot of contemporary music, jazz, and there was this musician with his band called Jim Cuomo. He's a sax player, and he had this band with him, and he was part of the workshop, sort of leading the workshops for the people, and in the sort of jazz, pop, rock department. And in his band was Colin, and that was one of the yeah. I mean, he was, I don't know how much older Colin is than me, but he was probably in his 20s, early 20s, and so he was playing with his band, and I really became friends with Jim and while I was there, and Colin. They were so nice to me. They sort of treated me a bit like older brothers. They were like encouraging me, and we got along. So, and I had heard, them saying that Colin had just joined Camel, and before he was playing with Steve Hillage, and these were people I knew already, and so it was nice to meet people who actually were doing stuff, and we kept in touch afterwards. I mean, over the years, here and there, I don't know how we kept in touch, but we did with Jim, especially. He came down to the south of France occasionally, to the jazz school where I was. He came once we played with us, and so I kept in touch. And then when I moved to London in 1985, I had Colin's contact, so I contacted him and say I'm coming to London, and he was obviously living in London at the time. So I came with a band, and we had demos that we had done, and so I remember going to his flat and playing him my demos, and again he was so nice and encouraging, and and he actually occasionally helped me, with some contacts. I actually auditioned once for the drummer of Camel, who had left by then. Sorry, I forgot his name now. Who had set up his own band, and he was looking for a keyboard player. So Colin sort of suggested me, and I went, but it didn't work out. But anyway, he was very helpful and always very nice to me. So that's how we met originally. And then much later, we got in touch again because he wanted to do something with some of my songs, which I had released on an album of mine with me singing on it, called Songs of Refuge. And it was what it was. I'm not a great singer, so the vocals were kind of very treated and used more like an instrument than a proper vocalist. So I was trying to cover up my average singing with effects, but okay, it was a project which I did, and but he heard it and he liked the songs, so he thought, well, I want to do another album, a solo album, and obviously Colin writes his own songs, and he's very good at it, but he wanted to collaborate, and so yeah, we started out. He chose the songs off that album that he liked, and we started working by rearranging those, and to make them something completely different. And he obviously sang them beautifully and played bass on it. And then he wrote his own songs to go to complement the rest of the album. And that's how And then we played some instrumental, wrote together some instrumental things, more sort of ambient tracks. And that's how the first album came along, Still, which was released in 2020.
Yeah, that's a very good album, man. How did it go in terms of sales? I think you guys have the album on Bandcamp as well. Obviously, nowadays, fewer and fewer people are buying CDs and vinyl. The only way to make money is to tour, and sometimes it's hard to do because you need, X number of dollars to make it viable, right? Otherwise, you end up losing money. So it's like a trade-off. Sometimes you do music because you like, and you don't want to lose that much money, and you have no choice. You need to do music you like because that's part of your life, right? And you're hoping to, whatever the album costs us with mixing, mastering, and creating the physical product, I don't know, 50,000, and you want to try to break even at least, right? So.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing was that obviously I've got my home studio here, and Colin was living in Wales, so we never actually met to work together. So we worked remotely. He's got his studio at home. So, we didn't have any costs in terms of studio time. And we took our time. We did what we wanted, when we wanted. And so it took quite a long time to finish the album. But we did a fundraising, crowdfunding plan for the first album. And yeah, we got the money to manufacture the CDs, which was great. Now we sold, I mean, I don't think anybody today in that kind of music is expecting to make money out of music sales. As you say, maybe the concerts will bring in more money, but it's to earn a living with streaming and stuff is practically impossible. But CDs, you can still sell a few, but there's a limited amount. Especially, I mean, I'm not we're not huge celebrities either, so. But it was, we sold enough to pay for the second album, basically. So we consciously decided to put that money aside and keep it for an eventual second album. And that's what the money we used to pay for the manufacturing and some of the promo costs came out of the sales of the first album.
I got you. Which is this guy, More.
Yeah, that's the one.
It's a beautiful picture inside as well, the two of you with.
Yeah, well, that's my back garden there because
really.
The only time Colin and me actually got together is when we have to take photos of us. So we did that for the first album. He came to London once, and we met in a park to take some photos. And this time he also came over once for a day, and we went in my back garden, took some photos, selfies, and and that's the only time we actually meet. The rest of the time it's all remote work.
This is a very, very good album, man. Very good album.
It's a bit different than
the first one, right?
one, but we see it as a kind of continuation. That's why we kept the same kind of look a bit. The artwork style is the same, and to make it look a little bit like a second episode in the series, like a sequel.
Good. So once you guys were done with Still, you knew back then that you get along well. The rapport was there, and then you thought, well, maybe we have some tracks that we didn't use. Maybe we should do a second album, and then you guys get along very well, I assume, right?
Yeah, I mean, we it's a pleasure to work together, just because there is no ego, involved. It's just we all both respect each other's work, and we know what each one is good at, and it's a perfect kind of partnership, especially after being through playing with bands and stuff where you always get the same sort of kind of conflicts and things and this and that. So, I'm too old to do that kind of thing now. So if I'm going to work with people, it's got to be easy and relaxed. Otherwise, I can't be bothered. But it was very nice. But the way it happened was more that I had actually, because about 20 years ago, I was collaborating with this other singer, woman called Veronique, and we had this band called L'Orange, which she sang both in French and English, and so we wrote, loads of songs. And we recorded demos, and again, it went nowhere. We didn't get any record company interest or anything, but we did quite a few gigs and stuff. But there were so I had all these songs, which were just lying around, and I just thought I just was going through them again and listening to them. I thought these are really good songs. I would really like to do them again and rework them. And who better to do that with than with Colin? So I picked out about a few ones that I really wanted to do again. I rewrote the lyrics for some of them because they were not appropriate. There was it was not what I wanted to say anymore. So I just told Colin, look, I've got this bunch of songs. How should we start a new album? And he was straight away said yes, let's go for it. And so he also then started thinking about writing his own new song. I mean, he writes new songs. I recycle the old ones, because I've got such a backlog in a way of songs that I still think are worth putting out there again. And so that's how it is. And I've actually come across a few more now. So it might be that that's the basis for a third album. We'll see. Too early a bit now, but we'll see.
Yeah, right. Give me 1 minute. Let me. Then obviously this is a great album, a combination of 11 track, and then how you end up bringing Andy Latimer to play guitars? I think it's 5 tracks or so, right? As you were writing along, you will begin reviewing each track and they say, man, we should have guitar here, we should have guitar there, and so on, right?
It wasn't like that. No, it was actually we were thinking, always at the back of our minds was probably the idea that maybe Andy could play on one of the tracks, but we weren't sure whether he would be interested or not, because his health is not very good, and he's been through a lot and is still going through a lot health-wise. So we weren't sure whether it'd be something he wanted to do. But and I didn't want to push it from my side. Colin knows him well, and so I didn't want to push, but I just said, look, if you think. And so he said, yeah, well, so we chose one song. I can't remember which one it was, the first one. Yeah, it was Dinner in Delphi, I think. And Dinner in Delphi, the song. So he sent that to Andy and said, look, would you be interested in playing? And he was, and he not only played this amazing solo, but he also started adding stuff. He played this whole drum kit sort of part under the second half of the song, and you can hear it come in. And I, we didn't want to have on the album sort of straightforward drums. In general, because we don't have a drummer, and so I thought, well, rather, programming drums, I don't really like that. But we had some basic things, percussion and things. But he came up with this drum track, and we just thought, wow, this really works well. So we decided to keep it, and he then played this amazing solo on it, and so we extended the piece. It was initially 4 minutes or something, and it ended up being, I don't know what it is, 6 minutes, just because he was playing and playing and playing, and and it worked really well, and he was very happy. And then he started saying, well, do you have anything else that you want me to play on? And so we just said, oh, okay then. And
Here's the next one.
yeah, here's the next one. And there were, and then there were another one, and we said, well, why don't you? So it ended up that he ended up playing on 5 tracks, and there were also some flute things he did, some amazing little flute arrangements which he added on. So he was really involved, and we were very pleased because we also felt that that was kind of doing him some good, in terms of getting back into playing and getting back into bringing ideas. And he liked the songs, and he was more than happy to make suggestions and stuff. So it became he became much more involved than we thought he would originally, which was great. It was great. So we've got I think some amazingly beautiful playing from him on especially the Dinner in Delphi, but also the last track, which is Deep Fake, and there we really extended the track, to accommodate this whole big sort of epic solo of his, and it became this big piece with strings and stuff, and so it just grew from an initial, question. It ended up being almost like he was a third member of the band, So we were very grateful, and he was very nice again to us, and more than willing to contribute. So yeah, I mean, it was a real beautiful thing to happen.
Yeah, that's a treat for the Camel fan as well, because I think he's recovering for surgery, and I don't know what's the future of Camel. They know, I don't.
Well, I don't think they know. I don't think anybody knows, to be honest, and especially now. I don't think he knows, because he's just gone through and going through so much, and so I don't think anybody knows what the future is. But as and when he gets back into being able to play, we might just start working maybe on some more stuff if things come along. So we don't know. We don't know, and I at this point I don't think anybody knows what.
I got you. Yeah, the album in general is very melodic, thoughtful lyrics, and of course, and a great production as well. Actually, it's a great album.
Thank you.
And you end up mixing that album in your studio and Colin's studio, and then somebody else.
No, I did everything. I did everything here, the mixing.
Okay.
And it was hard work, because I'm not I do what I can, but it takes a long time to get it right. And the main aim of the album, this one, was to make it a little bit more upbeat than the first one, and still was very ambient and very kind of floaty. Whereas we wanted here to just do some good pop songs, and to do what the best we can to make the pop songs work as good pop songs, and not try to be too clever about it. Just get the arrangements right for the song, and the structure for each song to make sense. So it's probably less prog a bit than the previous one. It's a little bit more mainstream, but I think that we got a nice diversity of songs. Each one is a little bit different mood, and Colin wrote some great ones. So yeah, I think we got something a bit more fresh sounding than Still, and that was the intention. Now, as I say, there might be more songs lying around that we might want to do in the future. But we had fun doing it, and then we gave it just to master to a mastering engineer, because mastering is something I don't think anybody should do at home. So then I've got a very good guy who did still also, and so he knew what it was all about, and he did a great job at mastering it. But it takes time. I mean, the what takes the longest is always the arrangements and the mixing and the details. As this little detail, that little detail. So people don't realize, I think, how much painstaking work goes into mixing. For me, anyway, it's endless. So I'm always relieved when that's finished.
Yeah, I got it. Even in general, even if you knew mastering well, let's say, and you have a studio, right? Somebody lend you a studio for free. Okay. Do you recommend for an artist, in your case, a musicians, mix it but no mastering, not do both, because they will be probably very biased from the music? So is it better for an outsider like myself, assuming that I have experience? I don't, but an outsider master that, so I won't be biased. A new product that is in front of me, or you think the same person can do both, the mixing and mastering?
Well, it depends a little bit what kind of music you're doing, first of all. If you're doing very, let's say, I don't know, even then, I'm not sure. I mean, if you're doing electronic dance music or something, then maybe you can do things at home. But no, I would definitely recommend any artist, anything they do, any recording, to go out and give it to somebody else for mastering. First of all, it's a totally different job and knowledge that musicians don't have, and it's a different kind of hearing. First of all, you need incredibly good speakers, incredibly good gear that the mastering engineer will know, what everything does and how it works, and not just start turning knobs and hope for the best. It's a very detailed and technical knowledge that is needed to do good mastering, as well as a good studio. Now, he is just a mastering engineer, so that's all he does. And you need to find somebody that's their job, and they will then be able to, first of all, correct any errors, any things that are not sounding right. And we actually had to go back to him twice, because he sent us a master, and we realized through him mastering that I had made mistakes on the mixing, and I had added a few things and effects which I thought sounded good at home, but then for him, he just said, well, this is just distorting and it's not actually doing anything. So I had to remix everything, taking off these effects that I had put on, and giving him a lot of a cleaner mix rather than adding my own thing. So that's where I learned that don't think you can do it yourself. You're just going to add things that you think sound okay, but is in fact just creating problems. So we had to go back, take off the stuff, and then it sounded good, and I gave it to him, and he just made it sound, really good then, because he had a clean version to work with, And so mastering, I would say, spend the money. If anything, you're going to spend the money on is on the mastering. You can do the mixing yourself. You'll take longer, and you can do that, and you can play everything yourself if you want. But in terms of if you need it doesn't have to cost huge amounts either, 600 or £1,000 for an album to be mastered. It's worth it. It's worth it, and on top of it, you get an outsider's ear to hear the whole thing, as you said, in an unbiased way, and he will just get the balance right and make everything sound nice. So absolutely, I wouldn't, if it's not a huge commercial project, then yeah, you can do some mastering at home for, let's say, for a film or for a video or something you're doing for friends or something. Then yeah, you can use those mastering tools at home and get something that sounds okay. But for that extra level professionalism of expensive, let's say, sounding mastering, you can't do that at home. I don't think you can. I mean, maybe some people are good at it, but
Yeah,
think
I guess.
you can tell the difference.
Okay. This is the album. I mean, the brochure that comes out the album is it's beautiful because for each of the so each page will have the track and pictures and another one and so on and so forth, and then it's it's very nice nowadays when people buy CDs, right? They use cheap paper and the picture are very bad and very bad quality, and in this case, because the lyrics are so important and are intrinsical part of this album, it was worth it to spell out all the lyrics and then having beautiful pictures. Where the pictures come from to begin with?
Well, me and Colin, we just came up with pictures we liked, and
Yeah,
some of them are AI generated.
I got it. Yeah,
So we did a mixture of real things and fake things, and well, fake, just AI generated, to come up with things that we thought went well with the lyrics, and that's what we did for Still already. So it was just repeating the same process. And I agree with you. I mean, I think it's nice if you're going to sell a CD, it's got to be done properly, with nice paper, and make it feel a bit like a work of art itself. And
yeah.
going back to the old LPs and vinyl, when you had the nice big sleeve and you opened it and you had this artwork and thing. Now we don't want to do vinyl because for us it's too expensive, and I don't think it's worth the effort really for me. I mean, I know I'm probably in a minority, but so we stuck to the CD format, but we wanted it to at least have a nice paper feel, and have a nice package that people can hold and look through. And yes, the lyrics are important. I mean, we are not singing about pop love songs and stuff, although there are a lot of songs about love and about slightly more mature point of view of life, and nostalgia for certain things maybe, and looking back and looking forward, but looking forward to a different future than we would have done if we were 20 years old. So it's the lyrics kind of have to reflect who we are now as people, and not try to sing about things that are not our age anymore.
Gotcha. I think for me, I put together song in kind of different theme and different areas, and I think obviously the song cover a wide range of topics, from if you look at the lyrics, from childhood to childhood memories and the passage of time, if you will, like Back Again, Smile, Smile, Sailor's Lament, and I Wish, right? Which are great. Some of the lyrics are very personal. You can tell that, you are bringing memories when you were, I don't know, 10, 15. Well, like any writer, right? That's 75% is true, the other 25% is not true, and you make it up. So it's,
well, everything is true, in the sense that it's what you believe in, and what you think is. There are things about childhood memories. There's also about a couple of songs make reference to William Blake, who I like very much, and he there's Smile of Smiles, which is from one of his poems, although the lyric is not about the same subject, but I took those words. And Ghost of a Flea, which is also a painting by William Blake, which he used to have visions. He used to see ghosts. He used to see things that probably he had some maybe mental health issues, you would call them today, but at the time he called them visions and hallucinations and things. And so he had all this mystical kind of view of the world, of reality, and he saw angels flying around everywhere. So he was a very special guy. So I wrote this song, Ghost of a Flea, based on him. and putting in all kinds of other famous ghosts from history, which kind of have been written about, ghosts appearing here and there. So it's a bit about the unseen world, the things we don't see, but people maybe with special abilities can, like him. So yeah, that's one song. And then, okay, every song has its deep fake is a bit of a political thing about the internet and how everything is, truth is not anymore an issue really about on the internet. Everything is, is a fake or can be faked, or so you don't really know where you stand anymore with the information that you get from whether it's social media or even the main media. You don't know what's what, and so it's about that sort of not knowing really anymore what is real and what isn't.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, hunting game also is another politicized theme, if you will.
yeah,
and,
that's Colin's song, and
Yeah.
so he's better placed than I to talk about it. But yeah, it's about, I suppose, again, with age, probably we are less easily tricked into
So,
believing the BS that comes out of politicians,
of course.
and or just not, not finding any more value in the system itself. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to become an anarchist and throw everything out, but because then it's even worse. But it means that you have to be very careful what you believe and what you don't believe, and take everything really with a bit of a questioning. Always questioning. Well, why is he actually saying that? Why is this actually happening? And maybe we don't know because we don't really know what's really going on in the behind closed doors. And so it's about, yeah, it's about trusting, not necessarily being able to trust anymore leadership, and not that maybe we ever were in a position to trust them. But
Judge, how in terms of for the writing process, you will go ahead and write melodies, right? Or you start with keyboard, you start with piano, and then Colin start putting some lyrics together. You go back and forth. What was the
no, I
process?
mean, usually the music and the lyrics come together, either from Colin writes his songs and it includes the lyrics. I write my songs, includes the lyrics, and we don't interfere with each other's songs. Then, in terms of the arrangement, Colin was happy for me to kind of come up with ideas for the arrangements. So I added keyboard parts, but he also played some keyboard parts sometimes, and guitar. He played a lot of more guitar, I think, on this album than the previous one. But again, it's something that just happens organically. In terms of the writing, yeah, I mean, I play, I write the keyboard, but I like good melodies, but I also like nice harmonies. So the main thing that I always try and look for is an interesting chord sequence, something that, is not the obvious chords that you find in a lot of standard songs, but I like to try and twist things a little bit in terms of chords and harmonies, so that it doesn't, always go where you think it's going to go, but it has a bit more, let's say, emotional kick that you can pull out of playing around more with how the chords go into one another, and that's what I enjoy doing, is playing around. So a melody can have 100 different chords underneath. So the melody is fine, but you have to, it's what you put under the melody, which I'm more interested in terms of accompaniment and stuff. The arrangements, yeah, I mean, the arrangements are, initially we try and keep it as simple as possible. So it's either a Fender Rhodes sound, or guitar, and the bass. Obviously, Colin comes up with great bass lines. And then if we feel that there's more needed, then we start adding other sounds, Hammond or. But I try to always keep it quite organic, and I don't like sort of too fizzy kind of electronic sounds, keyboard sounds. So I like the vintage, as you can see, the vintage stuff.
Yeah.
And so I always try to make sure it sounds timeless in that sense, that you can't say, well, this is like an 80s keyboard, or this is a 90s drum beat. And that's why, in a way, we don't like to use drums too much, because that kind of dates things. So we used like a bass drum that Colin has at home. So he just was banging this bass drum throughout some of the songs. And then little brush drums and things, but very organic and very natural sounding. Nothing too obviously belonging to a particular era, so that those songs can remain timeless in a way.
Is there, I think there might be enough leftover material maybe to down the road in a year from now or so, 2 year release the third collaboration?
Yeah. As I said, I found, since we finished this album, I found more of my old songs that I'd be interested in revising and reviewing, and whether there's enough to do another album. Start thinking we'll give a bit of a break for the moment, because it's a long process always, and quite a
of course,
it's fun. It's fun. I mean, we don't really. It's a good format, and therefore we might as well keep going with a format that allows each of us to put forward what our material in the best possible light. We were kind of starting to think a little bit about doing some gigs, but it's too early now. We haven't really discussed it, but we definitely would like to try and do a few gigs, whether it's just the two of us, maybe just the two of us, or maybe with a third person. We don't know, but for that to happen, we would need people to come with some proposal for either being part of a festival or something, and where we just worthwhile us getting off our backsides and getting out there. And so it's complicated. Gigging is complicated, and again, we're a bit too old to start piling up in a van and going off into sleeping in cars and things. So that's not how we do things anymore.
Sure.
I'm not saying we want 4-star luxury hotels, but I'm saying we need a little bit of organization. Things need to be organized a bit. So if there are any opportunities, we will certainly look into them. It'd be great to play live, because I think these songs could be changed live and be played differently every night, or you could really play around with them a lot in a concert sort of situation.
Especially now that Colin is not busy with Camel, and maybe it's an opportunity to with a drummer or with somebody else.
He's very busy with other things. He's got his
family business, right?
Health shop in Wales, and he's got his animals on his farm, and he's also producing other people in his studio.
I see.
Playing around. He gets invited to play here and there by other people. So he's he's busy, but it's certainly this time round we would like to try and get some gigs, but we'll see.
Yeah. Do you produce music for other people? You collaborate with other people? Because you don't have another job. Just music is your
it's
your main line of work, right?
Maybe I should get another job, because financially it's not always worth it what I do. But I do some film music and TV music. When it comes to projects, I've just done a music for a documentary which is on Netflix now,
Wow.
about NFTs. It's called NFT WTF. What the question mark?
Yeah.
It's about this, how NFTs came along and cryptocurrencies and in the arts. So how artists sort of used NFTs to make some big money and stuff. But it's quite an interesting documentary. It's by this director called David Schulman, who I worked with before, and it was good fun to make the music for that and to see it on Netflix. It's fun. But it's for that I just do whatever the project needs. So musically, if it needs dance music, I'll do dance music. If it needs techno, or if it needs Philip Glass style minimalist kind of thing. So whatever the film needs, then I will do. So I can play around with different genres depending on what's needed. But yeah, so I do that, and I'm writing my own albums, which I just released a couple now, and I'm working on another album with a flute player, Italian virtuoso flutist, who's amazing. Just top player. She's playing all over the Europe concerts, and she we became friends, and I started writing a few pieces for her, and we recorded them, and it came out quite well. So we're carrying on now and trying to finish an album together. So just totally different direction.
Hotel Erica also. I listened to that stuff. Yes, it's very, very good, right?
That's the latest one, which is instrumental synthesizer suite. So it's about 45 minutes of just keyboards. And it's kind of cinematic a bit, and it's about this hotel where I used to go as a child in the Alps again. I don't know, it's always the Alps coming back. And but in Slovenia, in Eastern Europe. And as a family with my parents and my brother, we used to go there several times. Every year almost we went there for the summer. And it became this kind of mythical place in my mind. But it was, it was that mixture of Eastern Europe, post-communist kind of depression mixed in with the pre-war Austro-Hungarian kind of glorious times, and so it was again a mixture of emotions in you find in these places. And I wanted to tell a little bit the story of that kind of Eastern European atmosphere, because that's where my parents came from, and through this kind of instrumental story a bit. And so the hotel was called Erica, and that's why the album is called Hotel Erica. Unfortunately, it was destroyed a few years ago. They pulled it down, so there's nothing left now, and so that adds a certain emotional element for me. So yeah, that's one of the latest projects.
Yeah. All right. Hopefully you guys can, tour with Colin and during the summer or during the fall, if I'm in London, keep me posted, because I would like to meet the two of you. I never met you, and attend one of the gigs. So, will be fun.
Of course, and we're waiting for you to organize a gig for us in LA, and then we'll come.
It's I think the promoter are very good. It's a complicated business, how to put it. You need to work at the finances. Somebody need to.
I know.
The venue.
We would probably fit into some kind of progressive kind of festival, where they would slot us in somewhere, and that would be fun. That would be okay. But I don't think anybody's going to organize a big tour for us at any point in time. So we'd have to fit into a bigger picture somewhere. And
there's a couple of prog festival in September, October here in the US, and once they announce it, I will send you the links. And Colin
has a few contacts. Obviously, he's played around a lot, and we haven't really had time yet to sit down and think it through. But it's we will try, definitely.
Yeah. Feel free to mention the name of your website, the Bandcamp channel where people listen to this audio, this podcast can buy your music and
Okay, well,
subscribe to your newsletter or something.
everything can be found at danielbiro.com, and you can sign up to the mailing list. You can get a free album if you do download a free download album of one of my improvised keyboard solo live events, which I did a couple of years ago, and then you get kept informed about everything. And there's the shop there, so everything can be bought from there, or from Colin's got his website too. So Bandcamp, we're also on Bandcamp. Just look for Daniel Biro .bandcamp, and we're there. So whatever your favorite format is, as long as it's just don't just go to Spotify though and stream everything, because we don't get a penny from that. So,
you don't get one,
well, we
penny.
We get really not even enough to buy a coffee. So it's not worth it. But obviously, it's very good to have that too. But if you want to support artists these days, you gotta go and buy directly from them. It helps us to keep making music for everybody to enjoy. So it's a collaboration.
Gotcha. It was very nice talking to you, Daniel. Hopefully the noise from the outside when people were working, it wasn't that bad. So it wasn't that bad.
I didn't hear anything. But thanks a lot, Claudio, for having me again. And,
no problem, man.
We keep in touch.
You bet, man. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Take care.
Take it easy.